It's AFA Today, and we're grateful that you're with us live from New York, a live shot of Times Square with a bit of haze in the air. Don't know what that is. It's like, I don't know, someone put off it's a smoke bomb or something. But if you're watching on the American Family Channel, that's what you would see. Kevin McCullough welcoming you back to the AFA Today broadcast. All right, so in the last segment, Larry said, I think that was his name, Billy, sorry. I had lost your name. It wasn't on my screen anymore, so I forgot. Billy, I wasn't trying to dish you. You made mention that Republicans had not put forward any suggestions on how to reform health care. And I don't blame you for getting that wrong. A lot of people are saying that in the press. You need to do something before you repeat that talking point again, Billy. Go to the internets, the interwebs, whatever you like to use. Some people use the Googles, some people use the Yahoos, but the interwebs in general. And do a search on Dr. Tom Coburn. By the way, aren't you from Oklahoma, Billy? See, your senator put forward one of the most complete overhauls of healthcare reform that the country's ever seen. And shockingly, he's a doctor, so he knew something about what he was writing about. Not only that, he's a man of faith. And he had some really strong principles that were protected in there that addressed some of the issues that people have said the health insurance companies have been neglecting and avoiding. But he didn't do false things like make men buy birth control insurance or abortion coverage or mammograms or any other, hysterectomy, any other procedures they don't really need because they're men. The president's exchanges require people to have policies that have stuff on them that they don't need. And so this whole argument about whether or not the person could keep a coverage plan that they liked, period, because that's what he said, period, with no conditions, period, on it, that turned out not to be true, because then we got all this subpar mess. Well, doesn't meet the standards that I have for health insurance. Me, the all-knowing president, the all-seeing, the omniscient, in my own mind, president, I say that you must have abortion coverage for men because that's good health care. Because that makes sense in my world. And I guess maybe it does. If you belong to a political party that wants the taxpayers to pay for gender alterations, then perhaps a man could become a woman who could have a pregnancy and then need an abortion. In some weird universe, that might be true, but not to normal people, not to just everyday, respectable, tax-paying, God-fearing, Bible-loving, gun-hugging, pickup truck driving Americans. And that's what I think that's what this whole mess is kind of exposed, is that the elites of our society have created a law that basically gives them the power to do anything. Collect as much information about as many Americans as possible, not be accountable for how it's used. And so, no wonder Americans aren't enthusiastically just running over to the website and enrolling. We got the numbers yesterday, 106,000 official enrollees in any Obamacare exchange anywhere. There's been more than 5 million policies canceled. At that rate, we will insure all of America never. Because now there's more people without insurance than when they passed the law. 888-589-8840. Your thoughts on this. Let's go back to the phones and speak with Mike, who's calling from Mississippi. Hello, Mike. You're on with Kevin McCullough on AFA Today on AFR Talk. Glad you're here.
Hello, Kevin. Give me a chance here to try and explain some of this.
Okay.
First off, I'm using the liberal side of the attorney's law dictionary called Ballantyne's. They have the other law dictionary called Black's Law. Mm-hmm. And in it has bribery, a crime, the voluntary giving or receiving of anything of value in corrupt payment for an official act done or to be done or with the corrupt intent to influence the action of a public official or of any other person, which would be us, the public, professionally concerned with the administration of public affairs, whether the public official or other person be in the legislative, executive, or judicial department of government. Now, underneath Article 2 of the Constitution, which is the precedent of the law they're supposed to follow, the President, Vice President, and all other civil officials of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for the conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'd like to take a public suit because he's trying to bribe the public to regain the low information voters out there so he can raise his approval ratings. I'd like him removed from office because he's violating Article 2 because he swore an oath to preserve and protect and defend the Constitution. I find that he's committing a crime of bribery to the public because, as you stated before, he can't change the law. It has to go through Congress. They have to rewrite a new law.
Yeah, and they got to take votes. I mean, that's the part that I don't get. You just say, well, okay, the president announced changes to his law. And here's my bigger issue, and I read that from, and thank you for the call, Mike, and good comments all the way around. Here's my bigger issue. I read that from the New York Post, not a horribly indecent piece of journalism that the New York Post puts out. But didn't anybody say, hold on a second, wait a minute, I don't think the president can just do that. Didn't anybody ask about, like, what's the process on this? Are you going to put that forward in a bill? Are you expecting it to pass the House, the Senate? Are people going to sign off on this? Are you going to take votes? No, the journalist just says the president announced changes to the law. That doesn't work here. He's not a king. He's not even an authority over us. He's a servant to us. He works for us. He's our employee. He's our errand boy. We can put him on a bicycle and send him out for pizza if we want. He works for us. 888-589-8840. But that doesn't seem to stop the general idea that, this president doesn't have to do things the way other presidents have done them because he's just special. Let's take a call from Jethro in Ohio. Jethro, welcome. You're on AFA Today. Kevin McCullough, glad you're with us.
Hey, I appreciate you taking my phone call. Hey, I got the Founding Fathers put in place, quite a few checks and balances, and most of which aren't working out. And one checks and balance that no one brings up, and I think they're fearful to, including yourself, is the Second Amendment. And the Second Amendment wasn't in place so I could protect my family from the boogeyman. It wasn't there so I could hunt. It's there so I could form a militia to protect myself from my own government. And if you go back in history, our Founding Fathers felt like they had no representation with taxation. And they drew a line in the sand, and they said, you crossed it. You've crossed it. We are bearing our arms against you. And they actually shot people for this. And they took, and we as Christians, especially because our claim to fame as Christians is the Founding Fathers were mostly Christian, if not all. And they took up a gun for what they stood for. But, as a Christian nowadays, you're supposed to take this approach of, we should turn the other cheek. You should never do that. Another situation I'm looking at, and I don't know which side of the fence I fall on. I don't know if I'm the let's go shoot 'em guy or stand back guy. I'm just trying to. You kind of have a claim of your, that you self-claim that you're going to clear up everybody. You're all knowing, and so I'm just kind of bouncing the idea off you. We also look at we look.
I don't think I've ever said that I'm all knowing about anything.
Well, you kind of like you're going to clear it all up.
The goal of our discussion each day. The goal of our discussion, Jethro, is to take the confusion out of the equation and to look at it through the grid of truth.
Okay, I didn't want to turn it personal because then we're getting off the subject.
Okay,
but another situation we're looking at is we have the Holocaust. Our guys, World War II. We feel like there is people, Jewish people in concentration camps getting killed, shot, gassed, whatever. And as a Christian nation, we went over there and we killed Nazi Germany and some of these people to save people. And here we sit back and we claim that fetuses are people, which I agree with. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
But yet we all sit back and we wait for the next vote, or we might make a little speech, or you know what I'm saying? I mean, we look at the World War II veterans as heroes. They were heroes. They went over there and took care of business. They stopped talking. They stopped talking and they took care of business. And that, I don't know. When do we start talking about this? Because at some point you have to. That's how I kind of feel. At some point we gotta.
I do feel your pain on that, Jethro, and let me just react to a couple of things that you said, and maybe you didn't intend them to be personal, but you did point them to me, and you said you, so I just want to make sure that people understand where I'm coming from. First of all, I agree with the Second Amendment. I know that it's not there for hunting or for skeet shooting or anything else. I know that it's there to protect us against a tyrannical government that grows beyond its allowable means. And it's interesting because people accuse people like Jethro. There will be liberal people in Washington, D.C. or New York that may have heard Jethro's comments and would say, you know what, that guy sounds like he's inciting violence against his government. And then they'll turn around and they'll say, this is why we should be taking guns away from the American people. And every time I've been in a debate on Fox News or somewhere else where somebody has said, well, maybe we should just start taking guns, I'm like, okay, go ahead and try. There's like 300 million guns privately owned in America. And if you think that that's going to bring about a safer, more just world, then try to force the average gun owner who obeys the laws to give up his rightfully owned guns. See, I don't think that the government will go that route because I don't think they would be ready for what would be perceived as tyrannical activity by the government. And you might have a few guys that go out to collect the guns, not coming back with all of their fingers or something. And I'm not justifying violence against government workers. What I'm saying is that I believe that the Second Amendment is real. I believe it is there for that purpose. And I'm not one of these guys that says we should march on Washington and start shooting people and advocating violence that's unprovoked. But you bring that to my house, that's a different story. You bring that to my doorstep, you try to bring that into my domain as a law-abiding citizen of the United States, I would strongly caution you not to. That's what I would encourage the government to do. And the point, the reason that I'm harping on the thing out of the Post today on this broadcast is for this reason. Most of the news that I've seen, even on Fox today, that's talking about the proposed changes to the healthcare law that the president announced today, are reporting it as though he has the power to just change the law. I think it's real important. Yes, I am seeking to remove the confusion, replace it with truth, and to sprout clarity from all of this. And in the understanding of that, you have in this scenario, you have the president either grotesquely violating the law or communicating very poorly about his intentions. Either he is just like saying he's changing the law, or he's pulling a real stupid PR move and not telling people that, well, I am technically going to go ask Congress to change the law so that I can then sign it so that we can then have it changed. But either way, the amazing amount of low information voters that are out there that just, well, the president changed the law, everything's good now. It doesn't work that way. And here's the other thing. If he did go and put forward a piece of legislation, and then for some reason it got filibustered or people wanted to make a point using a legislative procedure, then the media would all zap that person and say, oh, look at how terrible he is for using a perfectly lawful mechanism to try to affect good change in written law. It's pretty astounding when you see how in bed the media is with the low information campaign that the administration puts forward to try to keep people in the dark. They are invested, friends. They are invested 100% in keeping you confused. They are banking on it. Let's not give them the satisfaction. Maybe you want to be in contact with me. kmcradio@gmail.com is my email address. On Facebook at afatoday.com for the AFA Today page. I'm also under Kevin McCullough on Facebook as well. You can find me there. Back to the phones. Let's talk to, before we get to our next break, let's slip in Michelle here before the next break. Hi, Michelle. Welcome. You're on with Kevin McCullough on AFA Today.
Hello, is this for Texas?
I'm sorry?
Michelle from Texas?
Michelle from Texas. That's you.
Oh, okay. How are you doing, hon?
I'm
God
doing
bless
well.
you.
Thanks for your call.
First of all, I want to say God bless all our service members as well out there.
Amen.
May they come home safely. I am married to an airborne ranger myself, and so I've been there. Second of all, before I get to what I want to tell you right quick, I'm going to go ahead in a shoebox and send President Obama a Bible. How about that?
That sounds good.
Okay. And third, yesterday, Uncle Si was here at Fort Hood. And, yeah, awesome. And this lady come up to my son and I, and she was black, Democrat. And all of a sudden, she just started talking about Obama. And she was like, he lied to us. He's just a liar, liar, liar. And I told her in our conversation, if I was any part of an insurance, just like you said, I'd tell my husband, oh, my God, I got to call him. I would so sue him myself. So I am with you on that. And but in our conversation, she herself agreed, that he is putting down America, with all his lies and everything. And how does he think that us Americans are so stupid not to catch on to it, And
well, some of those folks, Michelle, hang out in the same circles all the time. So whether they're in D.C. or in New York, they run in these parties where, they just have people that kind of mirror back to them what they want to hear, and they don't really talk to the people across America. They don't really listen. It's one of the great privileges of what I do every day is that I get to hear from you. I get to know what's on your mind and on your heart. And it is interesting. There are a lot of people waking up and going, this is not what we were promised. Because here's the thing, this insurance issue isn't a respecter of persons. It's affecting people across every racial boundary, every economic boundary equally, and mostly equally bad. Kevin McCullough, AFA Today on AFR Talk. Stay with us.